One evening, as Nkem was about closing her shop for the day, she encountered a beggar sitting beside her shop with his clothes tattered. Nkem was moved by compassion and she offered him some clothes and money. The beggar accepted her kindness. Kind girl, beware of the shadows that lurk in your home. Not all that glitters is gold, and not all smiles are sincere. The cause that plunges your family is not of this world, but born of jealousy and malice. Seek the evil pot hidden in your stepmother's garden behind your house. Pour in your early morning urine with that of your siblings into the pot and break its hold. Once upon a time in Umuoma village, there lived a young woman named Nkem. She was the first child of Azuka and Obiageli. Her mother Obiageli had been married to her father Azuka as his first wife. After they were married, they waited for some years before they gave birth to her. When Nkem was born, their joy was boundless, for a child was seen as a blessing from the gods. But as the years passed and Obiageli bore no more children, sadness fell over their happiness. Azuka, as a man who was ingrained in the village traditions, found himself under pressure from his family and the village elders. In their eyes, a man's legacy was secured through his offspring, and the more children he had, the greater his status. And with Obiageli's inability to bear more children, Azuka became worried that his lineage might end with Nkem. After much contemplation and under the urging of his king, he decided to take a second wife. The village gossips murmured and speculated on who the new wife would be and how Obiageli would feel. Azuka married a young woman from a neighboring village whose name was Nneoma. From the moment Nneoma set foot in Azuka's compound, the winds of change swept through the family. She quickly became pregnant and joy was restored into the family, and as her pregnancy progressed, her influence over Azuka grew. She questioned the need for Azuka to support Obiageli and her daughter Nkem, and hinted that they should fend for themselves. Azuka was eager to please his new wife, and so he began to distance himself from Obiageli and her daughter, providing them with less financial support and attention. One evening, Nneoma went into labor. Hours later, the cries of a newborn filled the air, followed by the jubilant cheers of the family. Nneoma had given birth to a healthy baby boy, and Azuka's heart was filled with joy. He proclaimed the child as the future of his lineage, his heir. The village soon learned of the birth, and the celebrations continued late into the night. Nneoma had secured her place in Azuka's life and in the family, and nothing could take that away from her. She cradled her son with a sense of fulfillment. Nneoma's son Chinedu became the apple of Azuka's eye. The pride he felt was evident in the way he carried himself, his chest puffed with the satisfaction of having a son to continue his lineage. Not long after Nneoma had finished nursing her son, she became pregnant again for her second child, and before her pregnancy became visible and known to the people, Obiageli too found out she was pregnant, a miracle that brought tears of joy to her eyes. The village saw it as a sign of good fortune. Azuka was happy, but Nneoma was not happy with this fortune in the family. She had expected to be the sole bearer of Azuka's children, but when Obiageli became pregnant again, she felt her position threatened. They both had their baby when they were due for delivery, and together had more children. Nneoma grew jealous and pained that Obiageli could have more children. She began to weave a web of manipulation and ensured that Azuka's affections and resources were directed to herself and her children. She told him sweet words and filled him with doubts and suspicions about Obiageli and her children. Azuka was blinded by Nneoma's beauty and charm, and so he started to drift away from Obiageli. He provided Nneoma's children with attention and gifts and ensured they had the best of everything. Nneoma's daughters and sons were sent to school. And while he did all this for Nnoma's children, Obiageli's children were left to fend for themselves. Their needs and aspirations were overlooked. Nkem, who happened to be the family's first child, resented the way her father had abandoned them, the way he lavished attention and resources on their half-siblings while neglecting them. Nkem felt bad every time she saw Nnoma's daughters in their new fine clothes and heard about their academic achievements. She knew that given the same opportunities, she and her siblings could have achieved just as much, if not more. She had learned sewing and had become skilled seamstress. She worked tirelessly, and with the money she made, she supported her mother and siblings. Obiageli's young sons, Obinna and Ifeanyi, were apprenticed to local tradesmen, learning shoemaking and blacksmithing. They were denied the chance for formal education. As the years passed, Nkem watched with sadness as her half-siblings flourished with their father's support, while she and her siblings struggled. As Azuka's daughters grew into beautiful young women, suitors started coming for their hands in marriage, but only for his daughters with Nnoma. Obiageli's children found themselves shunned by potential suitors. The villagers murmured about the mysterious force that kept them from marrying. Obiageli could not understand it. Her daughters were kind, hardworking, and attractive, yet suitor after suitor would come and go, leaving them disappointed. Things became worse when Ugogbe, Nkem's younger sister, found herself entangled in a scandal. Ugogbe was the object of many men's desire, but instead of receiving marriage proposals, the men only flirted with her, left her heartbroken and disgraced. Ugogbe became pregnant out of wedlock. The villagers judged her harshly, and the shame it brought upon their family was a heavy burden. After she had bore the child, she continued to go after men. She was seen in every corner of the village with different young men. As a result of this, the villagers called her Ukunnu. Obiageli, an ever-caring mother, sought help for Ugogbe. She visited healers, priests, and even the village witch doctor, but all efforts were in vain. Ugogbe's behavior was abnormal. It was as if something dark and malevolent had taken hold of her, and no one could explain why. One evening, as Nkem was about closing her shop for the day, she encountered a beggar sitting beside her shop with his clothes tattered. Nkem was moved by compassion, and she offered him some clothes and money. The beggar accepted her kindness. "Kind girl, beware of the shadows that lurk in your home. Not all that glitters is gold, and not all smiles are sincere. The curse that plunges your family is not of this world, but born of jealousy and malice. Seek the evil pot hidden in your stepmother's garden behind your house. Pour in your early morning urine with that of your siblings into the pot and break its hold. Only then will the truth be revealed and peace shall return to your home." The village of Umuoma was steeped in tradition and superstition. Stories of witchcraft and curses were common. When Nnoma realized that Obiageli's infertility had ended and that she was having more children, she saw a threat to her status and her children's future, and had visited a powerful witch doctor secretly under the cover of the night to ensure her dominance in Azuka's household. The witch doctor had warned her of the consequences but had ultimately agreed to help. He performed a ritual that bound Obiageli's children to an evil pot hidden deep within her small garden. The charm was to make Obiageli's children appear undesirable to potential suitors and cause them to fail in their endeavors. It was a curse that would make them invisible in the eyes of the world, keeping them trapped in a cycle of misfortune and despair. Nkem got home that evening and told her siblings about her encounter with the beggar. And the next morning, before cockcrow, they did all they were told. Nkem carried the urine to Nnoma's garden in search of the evil pot. She found it and poured in the urine into the pot. The witch doctor had warned Nnoma that the curse could only be broken if urine is poured into the pot. Confident in the secrecy of the location and the unlikelihood of anyone discovering it, Nneoma had agreed to the terms. Now that the curse had been broken without her knowledge, suitors began to flock their compound, seeking the hands of Obiageli's daughters in marriage. Nneoma waited to hear the sad end story, but to her frustration, the girls all got married, including Ugogbe, who already had a child out of wedlock, to a man who accepted her and her child. Obinna and Ifeanyi too experienced a shift in fortune. Their apprenticeships that was filled with difficulties began to flourish. They gained the respect of their mentors and started to excel in their trades. Opportunities that had seemed out of reach now appeared within their grasp. Azuka turned from being a mean father and husband to a loving and caring one. Nneoma wondered what could be the cause of the sudden change. Could someone have seen the pot? Her suspicions were confirmed one fateful afternoon when she decided to visit the sacred pot in the garden. She had often checked on the pot, reassured by its presence and the power it held over Obiageli's children. But today's case was different as she realized that someone had destroyed the curse. She knew she had to act quickly. In a haste to find a solution, she sought out the witch doctor who had helped her cast the curse. But the witch doctor, upon hearing about the destruction of the pot, warned her that there was nothing more she could do. The curse was broken and any attempt to cast another would only bring misfortune upon her. He cautioned her against trying to manipulate dark forces again, but Nneoma ignored his warnings. Her attempt to regain control made things worse as the curse backfired and she fell ill and later had stroke. In her sick bed, she made some confessions revealing her jealousy for Obiageli and her children, the witch doctor and the evil pot. Her children tried to protect her and their own reputation by keeping her confessions a secret, but she kept on spilling them out and eventually the villagers who came to visit her heard of it. Azuka was devastated by the truth. The realization that his wife, whom he had loved and trusted, had betrayed him and his children broke him. He felt an overwhelming sense of guilt for neglecting Obiageli and their children and allowing Nneoma to manipulate and poison his mind. Obiageli's children all found their footing and lived a happily ever after. Nneoma, confined to her wheelchair and ostracized by the community, lived out her days in relative isolation while her children faced the stigma of her actions. Hello favorite one, thanks for listening to my stories. Your support means the world to me and I couldn't do this without you. Your likes, comments and shares keep me motivated to create more stories. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you never miss out on any of my new stories. Thanks again and see you in the next story.